So it's 12 noon high. Let's get started on this. Welcome authors, members, guests to our first time ever PWN author celebration. Hopefully we can have these annually if we keep writing. It'd be nice. I want to give a big shout out to our July sponsor, Carrie Ascension, and she is founder of Keys to Empowerment. Carrie is a life and career purpose coach who just moved to Santa Cruz to marry the love of her life. So you can, sweet. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And she also sails, and she's looking for sailing partners. So make sure that doesn't that sound fun? So you can create your feminine power and create success with ease and grace by calling her at 805-305-9255 or go to keystoempowerment.com. Also, a big shout out to Eileen Groves, who does our bookkeeping. She's with Bookkeeping Central, and it is no small feat to do our bookkeeping, as Tammy, our treasurer, knows. And thank you to you, Tammy. Join us for our next virtual meeting. It's a members only benefit. It's the six-figure think tank hosted by the award-winning Patty Farmer, coming up August 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Also, a lot of you don't know this. I don't know if anyone knows this. We are having a mixer at Savino's Wine Bar, and that's going to be August 11th at the Thursday night at 5:30. So come and mix, and we can get to know each other a little better. Those of you that are out of town, I'll expect you to fly in, right? So also, I want to welcome our new members. So I'm going to read those. I couldn't print them. We have Sasha Allen with eXp Realty, Lucia Batista with Lucia for Health, Andrea Gothos with Freelance Translators Interpreters, Katrina Brando, here she is right there, beautiful face, with Thriving Women in Business. We have Mimi Mina with A's Creation, and she threw our great groove party with the food and everything. It was amazing. We have Taylor Edwards with After Hour Plumbing and Drain, Colleen Gassell with Center for Spiritual Awakening, Jim Vossen with the Sand City Chamber. We also have Karen Sohn with Senkel Dustless Blasting. We'll know more about that. Linda Purcell with Big Little Boxes. Britta Roberts with Work Street Wines. Lee Garcia with World Financial Group, and Demi Lemos with Lemos 76. So a big hand for all of our new members. Just so glad you're with us. So now we'll move over to, and she's going to introduce our member showcase.
I'll just say I'm Marian Gelletley with Powerful Presence. So Carrie offers intuitive insight to guide women around the world to gain confidence navigating those big life changes, including career changes and divorce. She helps transform doubt, fears, and confusion to confidence and courage, so you quickly get clear on next steps and are able to proceed with juicy aliveness. Clients rave that she's a unique blend of feet on the ground, common sense, and magic. She's on a mission to empower women to love themselves up so we create a thriving, supportive community. Welcome, Carrie. Take it away.
Thank you. I appreciate you reading all of that. So welcome, ladies. I am so excited to share with you what I've been up to most recently, because I want to get to know each one of you a little bit deeper. And so one of the things that I'm going to be talking to you about is some of the core work that I do is about creating juicy aliveness. And I'm going to share with you a little slide deck to help you see that. Okay, let me know if you can actually see the beautiful image of juicy aliveness. Beautiful, thank you. So the whole concept here is we all have magic within us, right? We all have big dreams. As business owners, it's juggling creating deep connections. It's creating time and money freedom so that we can create a life that we like or love. And it's also that ability for us to really come in contact with a greater sense of juicy aliveness. So we can run our businesses from a point of clarity and creativity. Can we all say yes, heck yes to that? Okay. So that's what this is all about, is to just for a moment help you to connect to your juicy aliveness. And what I find, though, is I've been coaching men and women around the world, is that there are ways in which we leak our energy out, which are not serving us, especially as women, not serving us as we're serving our clients. And so maybe one or two of these are on your list as well. What I find is saying yes to what doesn't serve you is one of the ways that we leak our energy away, indecisiveness, procrastination. And I just want you to know this is the standard operating system. This is what happens for people. So it's a matter of just cutting away some of those leaks or distractions. And that's what some of the work that I do. So I have a background in energy psychology. And so I've been looking or geeking out on the neuroscience that allows us to live into our purpose and our passion. And how do we release those blocks is by looking at some of the saboteurs that have been playing havoc with our mental mindset and have been trying to, on the left-hand side of the screen, have been trying to take away our dreams by telling us, I'm going to keep you safe. And I'm going to guilt you into driving forward. I'm going to shame you if you don't do it. Do it harder, do it enough. For example, my two high saboteurs are the high achiever. So it's never enough. Anybody else that can relate to that? It's like that constant desire to achieve more. And my other one is people pleaser. So that ability for me to just notice when these saboteurs come in the way, because we all have them. We all have the judge also. And instead to drive the behaviors over to a place of the sage mind. That's that mind that when we take a deep breath, and everybody just take a deep breath right now. That's that part of us that knows that she is worth it, like that she knows that she has brilliance to bring to this world. And she does that from a place of curiosity and empathy for herself and an alignment with her purpose. So that's some of the work that I do is, and I'll give you an example. And I was actually going to bring in an example of a client that I was working with, but I decided I'm going to be authentic and share with you, some of my experience in this. So the difference between, this is called positive intelligence, by the way. So if you ever want to take a look at this. So I was in a unhappy marriage for a number of years. I just got out of a marriage about 27 years ago, or excuse me, it was a 27-year long marriage that wasn't serving me. It was with the narcissist, and it was I didn't realize anything different. So I was actually beating myself with guilt, like I wasn't doing enough to make it all work. And I began to realize as I came into this body of work, and remember, I had a background in psychotherapy. So I was like, why can't I do, and I'm an intuitive. So why couldn't I actually bring myself into that positive mindset? But it wasn't until I came to really love myself up. And I realized that this is how we activate our juicy aliveness, by loving ourselves up, by asking ourselves, what do I really need? And so that's the sage mind. So there's 5 key powers that we can work with the sage mind. I'm not going to go into depth about that, but just know that you can use your mind. Instead of beating you up and guilting you into behaviors to move you forward, you can actually have mindsets that begin to drive you forward with a greater sense of juicy aliveness. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to offer each one of you the opportunity to take a deeper dive, to begin to ask yourself, so what is my big audacious dream? And what are the blocks that are standing in the way between me and my dreams? Because if we all have big dreams, then we all have a need or a necessity to engage our support team. This is part of our support team here, right? And it's helpful to have somebody as a trusted guide to step you through the ins and outs that can begin to pinpoint what are those things that have maybe blocked you from rapidly succeeding going forward. So I'm offering each one of you a consult, which is just a half an hour over the phone consult or over Zoom, for us to take a deeper dive, for us to get to know each other better, and for us to take a deeper dive into what is it that, how can you move your dreams forward? And so I'm going to invite you to message me. I'll put this in the chat in just a moment, to send a little scheduling to my scheduler to say, let's find a half an hour that we can begin to, I'm going to take this right now. And the 3 steps that we're going to be going through in our time together is filling up your love cup. That's how you activate your magic, by getting clear on what your big idea is and getting support. And I have ways in which I've been helping clients, like I said, around the world to up level their possibility thinking. Whether your goal is to make $5,000 a month or whether it's to make $45,000 a month, there are always ways in which you can begin to open up your possibility thinking. So I'm going to invite you, the 3 steps to success or activating your own internal magic are to get clear on your big idea, to get support, and to take action today. So, whether that's me, because, I have a lot of different networks that I have gone into over the past 12 years doing coaching. So if I'm not the right resource for you, I can certainly find the right resource for you. So I'm just inviting each one of you to take action on your dreams today. So whether it's finding support through me or somebody else on this call. In fact, there was another gal that I was talking to earlier that we've decided that we're going to be mastermind partners, which means coming together on a weekly basis to support each other in our businesses. So that's my little spiel in about 5 minutes. Is there any questions that I can answer? Okay, I actually have a question for you. If you can put in the chat, what's one thing that you took away from our moment together?
Love it, Carrie.
Thank you, my dear.
Make sure you respond, peeps. Probably
We
not
are
an easy
magic.
question. You have to dig back in and put it out on that chat.
I love that.
Awesome. Yes.
I wish I could have said more about We Are Magic, but you have the ability to overcome anything, really. And juicy aliveness, you can feel the sense of doing that rather than going, I have to do this, to I get to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful ladies. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, Carrie.
And I look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to have an opportunity to get to know you a little bit.
Oh, yes. Get to know this lady. She is just a phenomenal person.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You missed my big spiel about you.
Oh.
Well, it's kind of a medium spiel, but so let's get to our introducing our guest publisher and our authors. Before I do, I want you to encourage you to put your questions for the authors or comments in the chat. Jody, will you be able to kind of keep an eye on the chat? And if there's a question I don't see, just go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so let's dig in. I'm super excited about this. First, we're going to go with our publisher, and her name is Corey Ramsley. And she is the founder of Aurora Coriolis Publishing. I can speak sometimes. She is a book coach, editor, and publisher, and a multi-best-selling author. Corey never misses the opportunity to tell a good story. And as a book coach, she knows how to blend your story and your journey, create a beautiful brand asset that gets you to a bestseller. Corey has written 7 fiction books and contributed to 2 nonfiction anthologies. Following her own journey as an author has helped her to see the struggles that new authors go through, developing their stories and publishing. Corey is instrumental in coaching, editing, and publishing our #1 bestseller, 20 Lives Ignited. So I am very excited to have her share and inspire all of you to write the story that sets inside your heart and soul. So Corey, take it away.
Hello, it's nice to be here. I'm Corey Walmsley, and I think that I sent you the wrong bio because I've written 8 books. So yeah, my latest one just came out, Braving the Shore. What I wanted to talk about today is a little about publishing, about book coaching, and about book editing, because I know those are main pieces of the journey that people always have questions about. So I wanted to start out with publishing. And of course, if you have questions for me, make sure that you drop them in the comments, or afterwards, you're welcome to email me or find me on Facebook. I'm always happy to answer questions. So to start out, I wanted to talk about publishing. And there are three main kinds of publishing that people look at: self-publishing, traditional publishing, and hybrid publishing. Now, usually traditional publishing is what we have always thought of. You think about, the big buildings in New York, that's where the publishers are. That's traditional publishing. Self-publishing, of course, you do it yourself. Hybrid is kind of a blend between the two. That's what we do at Aurora Borealis. And that's where we have the professionals that are already ready to roll on your book. And we also do it on your own timeline. So it is kind of a blend between the two. A lot of hybrid agencies offer different pieces. We offer the editing, book cover, and some other pieces that are important for you to do your publishing. So how do you pick which one? I will never tell you that there's one that's better than another. It's always, what are your goals for your book? So think about where you want to be with your book. Think about who you want to be reading your book. If you are absolutely committed to having a huge audience for your book, you absolutely want to get it in front of a lot of people, then traditional very well might be the way that you want to go. You might want to go with a traditional house because they're going to be able to get you into bookstores automatically. They're going to be able to have more pull, getting better reviews for you. If your goal is more a local audience, if you really have, your audience already ready and excited for your book, then maybe self-publishing is a better way of doing it. So always look at what your goals are and pick from there. And of course, if you have questions about the different types, drop them in the comments. I'm going to keep going because I only have a few minutes. So I wanted to talk about book coaching. There are coaches for every single thing. You can find a business coach, a life coach, a health coach, all that kind of stuff. A book coach is somebody who will help you basically get your book from in here out onto paper. And it's more than just sitting there going, you can do it, you got this. We're not book cheerleaders, but we will do that for you too. A book coach will help you with mapping out your book. They'll help you with a strategy for keeping you on track. And then they'll also look at what you've written and they'll say things like, I love this story. What I'd like to see more of is how you got through this piece of it. I want to see your emotions on this piece of it. I have 10 questions about this story. Give me more. Or they might say something like, this is a really big share. Do you feel comfortable with this? Or this makes your husband look like an asshole. You might not want to put that in there. So that's somebody that you can always come to and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Should I go in this direction? That's the person that you need to just be open with and go, here it all is. Here's my story. So that's what a writing coach does. If you're looking at hiring a writing coach, find somebody that you really, have a good vibe with, somebody that you get along with, because you want to feel comfortable opening up and telling your story to them. You don't want somebody that you're going to feel like, oh my God, they're judging me. This is somebody that is basically a friend type of person. So always look at that sort of thing. You want to be able to send them an email and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and have them come back and say, yeah, I can help you get through that. So if you have questions about writing coaches, go ahead and let me know now. And I'm going to move on to talking about editors. So this is a huge problem I see in the book industry. A lot of books, especially done through self-publishing and even some hybrid agencies, they don't have good book editors. You absolutely need to call somebody other than your best friend who teaches high school English, or your neighbor who's really good with grammar, or your mom because she loves you and reads everything you write. You need somebody who's actually gone through a longer work and understands how the whole thing should be pieced together and how storytelling works. An editor is somebody who can tell you some of the same stuff that a writing coach would, but they're also going to be searching for the grammar. They're going to be searching for, little bits and pieces that maybe you needed to add or tweak. Usually a writing coach, when they're working with you, they're very immersed in the story. So it's ideal to have a separate editor look at it afterwards, because I've even coached somebody through a story, passed it to an editor, and editor's been like, I don't understand chapter 5. I'm like, oh yeah, it's this. This is what they're talking about. And he's had to go back and, make some adjustments based on that, because I knew the story so well after coaching that you really have to have that next set of eyes on it. And yes, even people who are professional editors have editors. I have an editor for my books. Everybody needs to have an editor going over their work, because there's stuff that you don't see, because like I said, we have it all in our heads. We know the story. It's all in there. We've all sent an email to somebody and left a sentence out, left a word out, had them send us back can you clarify this? Or, just so I know, is this what you mean? You really can't do that with a book. If you have your book out there, somebody's not going to email you and say, hey, chapter 5, paragraph 4, did you mean this? You need an editor to do that. So whenever you are looking at editors, if you're shopping around for editors, some good places to go are your author friends. If you know somebody who's written a book and you think it was well done, reach out and say, hey, who was your editor? If you don't feel comfortable doing that, sometimes they'll credit the editor in the front of the book. So you can always do that. Reach out to the publishing house, say who edited this. I want to talk to them. You can also talk to some of your local writing groups and see who they're reaching out to. And remember, different editors work on different genres. So if you're doing a book for your business, you may not necessarily want to hire somebody who edits dark fantasy. They are going to have a totally different perspective of how your story needs to flow. So make sure that your editor does handle the genre that you're working in. And of course, everyone wants to know, when do I pass my book off to an editor? When is the story done? When do I get to send it off? Is it a certain number of months? Do I need to sacrifice a goat first? No. So the way you can tell is your story done being told? When you get to the end, you feel like I've said all the pieces. Somebody could read this and they will absolutely be able to move through the process. They will understand it. They will feel empowered. They'll feel inspired. That's when you know, okay, I'm happy with this and I'm ready to start working with my editor. You can absolutely shop around ahead of time. It's always nice to find your editor ahead of time so you can get on their schedule. You can find who you really want to work with. But you do have to turn it over eventually. You can't just sit there poking holes at it, fixing word choices. You do need to get your book out there. So make sure that you have an editor, that you're comfortable with a publishing house. And if you need a coach, that you get a coach so you can get your story out there and start making that impact that you want to make. And if you have other questions, that's all I had prepared. So I'm ready for some questions.
Corey?
Yes.
We have a question from Joanne Gessner, and she says, is Writer's Market still a viable resource these days?
I don't know if it's online. I would say an online resource is going to be better than a printed resource for that. If you don't know what Writer's Market is, it's a book that is printed every year that usually has a list of, I know it always has agents. I don't know if it lists editors or other resources like that. I would say look online. Your best bet is to, you can look in Writer's Resource just to get ideas, or Writer's Market just to get ideas of who some different agents are. But always, if you're shopping for agents, go to that agent's website before you pitch them and make sure that they are looking for books in your genre. So if you're writing a business book and you're pitching, you don't want to pitch to somebody who has on their website, hey, I'm not taking business book pitches right now.
So I have one. Corey, when someone comes to you and they're not an author yet, but they want to write their first book, and they come to you for some type of inspiration, how do you personally encourage them? What is your process with them?
So for the encouragement piece, I always tell people to just sit down for a few minutes and think about who your audience is and what your purpose is for your book. Even writing down a little bit about that usually gets people inspired. Whenever I do a call with somebody, as soon as I start asking them, like, what's behind this? Why is it that you really want to write this book? They light up and they start going on and on and on about how this happened in their life and how, it relates to what they're doing now. And I mean, that's a big driving force for inspiring you for moving forward. And that's one of the first things that we do whenever I sit down with a client is like, hey, who's your audience? What's your purpose? What do you want to get out of this book? What do you want them to get out of this book? And then having a solid outline. We always do the outline when I do my first session with a client, because having a solid outline means that you're not sitting there staring at a blinking cursor, wondering what the heck you're supposed to be typing. You always at least know your topic for the chapter. And if we've really detailed the outline, you know more than that. Asking questions is a good way to do that. What is it that somebody needs to know most about whatever the topic is. So going through each chapter, knowing like, these are the things I'm going to be talking about in this chapter. And this is the story I'm going to tell. And this is, it makes it so much easier. Whenever I've done my own outlines, I can get through a book in 6 weeks. That's the fastest I've done it. And it's because I have that solid outline. And after that, I'm just ready to go.
Yes, it's bite-sized pieces that you can tackle instead of feeling overwhelmed. I really like that. I also loved how you talked about, being aware of seeing what lights them up, because that's a real gift. Some don't notice that, and that's everything. You can pull everything from that light up moment. Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't realize it ourselves. We need somebody else to go, hey, this is it. This is what your story is.
Yes. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Corey.
Thank you.
So now we're going to be going to who I call the Grand Lady. And her name is Linda, and I'm going to pronounce her name, and I'm going to do it wrong, but that's okay. Staszewski.
Close.
So how do you pronounce it, Linda?
It's Staszewski. Staszewski.
Oh my goodness. I was pretty far off. So I will be introducing you to Linda. She is a retired industrial engineer, vision board guru, multi-business owner, best-selling author, and creativity coach. At age 66, Linda launched Escape to Create workshops, which includes vision board, craft workshops, and motivational webinars. Linda is also the founder of DIY Craft Kit, subscriptions, and the Queen's Comfort Boxes, which can be personalized to the person receiving the box that you send them. Her book title is 20 Lives Ignited, How 20 Women Over 60 Are Creating Success on their own terms. Linda is also the book's curator. She bravely took on the challenge to bring the book to life while patiently organizing and coaching 20 women to give birth to their stories and become best-selling authors. Her mission is to be an inspiration and motivate women of all ages, and especially women over the age of 60. Okay, Linda.
What else can I say after that? Thank you. Okay, I'm Linda Laird-Staszewski, as you heard. And how many of you have ever wanted to write a book? I think everyone here may have thought of it. Well, I did too. Actually, I did try it. I did my outline many, many years ago, but life got in the way and it never materialized. But it was still in the back of my mind. That seed was there. I heard 7 months ago about the anthology concept, and I never knew what that was. I was so impressed, and I thought, this is it. This is what I need. So an anthology, I guess everyone here would know, I didn't at the time, that it's a collection of various authors who will share their stories under one compilation to create a book that is themed to everyone's story. So it's just great. And I'm praying. I'm a big prayer person. And I was praying. I said, Lord, help me find an anthology. I found some, but it wasn't a fit. And so I felt him tap me on the shoulder. And he said, why not you? I'll tell you, I was scared. I thought, I don't even know how to start this. I don't even know what to do. How could I do this? And what should I do? Would other women be willing to chip in and invest in themselves to do this book with me? Is it my dream only? Well, I'm a believer. I have faith, and I dove right in. So my anthology features 20 strong, amazing women who've overcome obstacles in their lives to become their own success stories. And our mission is to be an inspiration and to motivate girls, women of all ages, and especially the women over 60, because I want them to know it's never too late and you are never too old to achieve those dreams. I'm 71 and I have to live a long time because I've got goals, so many out there. So again, I've just begun, and I want everyone to have that burning desire and energy and just love of life and pure joy and gratitude. So each chapter features a woman's personal story of triumph. Some are much worse than others. One woman got kidnapped. Two women had domestic abuse. Others, it's just, I can't even go into them all. It's just, you have to read it. See, that's your inspiration. But it's really great. And these women, I was so blessed from the Lord to have these women want to be in this book and to share their stories and their lives. And we have I think, a forever bond over this. So I'm proud of each and every one. I'm connected with them, and I want them to prove, or they have proven that women over 60 are valuable assets. Their community, to society, everywhere. They're wise, they're knowledgeable, all that experience. We're courageous, we're braver than we ever were in our lives. And they were just wise, knowledgeable, courteous, courageous, powerful, creative, and I could go on and on and on. But again, I've only just begun. I thank Heidi Parr-Kerner because she taught me many years ago to do it afraid. I used to sabotage myself, and I would get myself at this great business ready to go. I'd get to the top, I'd have business cards and everything all printed out, and I got scared and I would just not take any action. And I'm ashamed to say that, but I was so afraid, where now I'm over the edge. Thank you, Lord. So I encourage each and every person here to learn how these women did it. And I think everyone here knows already, because we're all of the same spirit. And I believe you'll pleasantly be surprised about how we collaborated into making these captivating, motivational, inspiring stories. We follow our dreams. We're unstoppable. All glory to God. Create your own success. And if we can do it, so can you. Any questions?
Amen, sister. Yes, we have. Does anybody have a question before we go to the one in the chat?
I'm curious, what was the hardest part of this whole process?
The hardest part was 20 alpha women who all had their own ideas, and including myself. And it didn't turn out anything like I had envisioned it, but much better, because I listened and we collaborated and we just moved forward as a team. But yes, that was a real challenge sometimes.
Yes, I think the hardest part was keeping her hair. It was and she's such a lady. She is the grand lady. And it was, I could tell though that sometimes it was a tough go. It was a tough go on things. She worked very hard.
I was up till 3, 4 o'clock every morning. One morning, my husband, he's just getting up at 4 and I'm going to bed. And I says, wake me in 3 hours. I got to go to work. And because I work I'm a personal caregiver for somebody. I pet sit 9 cats, and I just do a lot of side jobs also. Yes, I'm a nurturer, so I love.
You are, yes, and you were on at all hours. I would get your emails at all hours. It was crazy.
You gave me a lecture once, and I
said, get off, go to bed. Of course, she didn't mind. She doesn't mind. She's not a minder. Never. But it was good. We have one question. It's to anyone that wants to answer this. How do you graduate from shorter pieces to a book? I'm published with short stories and articles. The prospect of the book seems a little daunting. And that's from Joanne.
Yeah, part of the challenge is that when we start to write a book, we say, okay, I want to write about this. But really, you want to look at your book like a math equation. You want to get clear. How many words do you want? So if you want 40,000 words or 50,000 words, and then how many chapters do you want? and then you divide it up. And so, and then of course you write down your hot topics that you want to write chapters about, and you start to chip away. But the idea is that you have your word count for each chapter, and that's going to really support you to get it done. I actually have a lot more to say on this, but think of it like a math equation. That's a big mistake people make, is they start writing rather than thinking about how much writing they want to do.
That is so good. I would never thought of that. That's just amazing. It's a real simple way to do it. And then you're not writing like a huge chapter 1 and then tiny little chapters to follow. Linda.
Yeah, that's where Corey came in to help with us with all the math equation things. She was a major help there in directives and keeping us on point. That was very, very important and very difficult at times, because sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get people to get their piece in on time, but we all did it. We made it, but thanks, Corey. And also, I'm a brainstorm type of person where I have to write down, and I make like the brainstorming map, and then I start writing all these words and paragraphs and thoughts, and then I just start coagulating it all together. So I know we all have our own methods, but that kind of for me.
That's good. Corey.
Yeah, I'm building on all of that. It's having that solid outline. Just like you would for an article, you don't just start writing the article. You know exactly what you're going to be talking about for an article. A book is just that times 10. So you're breaking out each chapter, saying this is how each chapter is. And then underneath each of those, it's basically like you're doing an article. So you can have a really detailed outline. And then also giving yourself the time to do it and saying like, okay, I'm going to take 3 months, or I'm going to take 5 months, or however long it is. And breaking it down so you're not, saying, okay, I need to write 40,000 words in the next week. You want to write 3,000 words in the first month, 2,000 words, whatever it is, and break it down. And pretty soon you'll find that you've got your 40,000 words and, you're ready to roll.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next author, and that is Joey Garrity. Joey is the founder of Joey G 113. Joey's a brand consultant, personal development coach, author, live stream host, podcaster, and international speaker. Joey also launched the Hollywood Spotlight series, which is a live interview show that features industry influencers. She is the founder of the Prosperity Club, where she trains and coaches industry leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm one of her members. Joey worked in Hollywood entertainment industry for 15 plus years at top companies in film, television, original web content, and branded entertainment. Joey believes that it is your birthright to stand in your spotlight and shine bright, living your true purpose while growing your influence. Her book title is Being Your Own Superstar: How to Expand Your Love Capacity. Well, we look forward to hearing from you, Joey.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, PWN. Hi, sisters. So my second book, interesting enough, was downloaded to me 3 years ago. I was sitting quite blue at the time. I had been out of Hollywood for a second tour, and I was asking myself what life was all about and why I was really worked there for a majority of my adult life. I was sitting at my friend's life celebration. I also had another friend pass away right before that. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next. And within seconds, I had like this pure wave of love came over me, and a series of memories were connected for me, one after another, that showed me the real reason why I worked in Hollywood, other than it was fabulous and fun at times, but my real purpose. And that was to share with the masses that these series of memories were, for instance, one of them was, I remember my boss at the time came into the office and he said, I'm going to go to a meeting and I'm going to bring back $100 million so we could make our next movie. And I was like, who thinks for a second about asking for $100 million, right? With all this confidence. And he's like, so I'll be back later. And I'm like, okay. What am I supposed to do with that information? I remember going out with my girlfriends that night and saying, can you believe my boss thinks he's coming back with $100 million? Right. And he did. Came back with $100 million. And we made our second movie at the time, which was Independence Day. But I remember thinking to myself, wow, I don't think I could ever even fathom getting the courage to ask for $100,000, much less $100 million, right? Another memory that was downloaded to me was I remember being on my first red carpet. My boss swung by and said, jump in, and grabbed my brother and we went to the red carpet. And I remember walking down the red carpet, and not as a participant, clearly, just to get from that to the theater so I could go to the premiere. And I remember watching all these stars and all these screaming fans, and they're just like screaming their name and can I get your autograph, and taking pictures and all the paparazzi. And I remember thinking to myself, I would literally want to disappear if this many people were screaming my name. I wouldn't even know where to go with that one, right? And yet I remember thinking how courageous they were to lean in and allow other people to love on them, essentially. Another download was, I remember coming down, I was at the Four Seasons with my boss in New York, and I was coming down the elevator, and I remember hearing this beautiful piano being played. But I remember, because I'm a very visual, detailed person like this, I remember walking down the hallway to go to our rooms and thinking, I saw a grand piano in the middle of this hallway because the hallway was so large. And I remember thinking, oh, what a beautiful prop. Like, no one ever plays that. That's just a prop. So when I heard this piano playing, I'm thinking it's coming from the lounge area. But as we get closer, we realize that one of our stars is literally playing this piano in the middle of this hallway, right? And we didn't even know he played piano. That was But as we got closer, other people in the lobby had been hearing this as well. And once they realized who he was, they all started surrounding the piano as he was playing. And so we walk up to the piano and we're in awe, and he's incredible. And it turns out he's really well known as being an amazing jazz piano player as well. And then we're like, he sees us and he knows it's time because we have reservations, right? And so he finishes the song and he closes the top of the piano and he thanks everyone for joining him in that moment. And everyone applauds. And without hesitation, he accepts their applause. And then we walk out and we get into our sedans and we go to dinner. I mean, it was just bizarre, right? But these series of memories were connecting dots for me. And as each dot connected the next, at the very end of the series, I had the ultimate aha moment, not just of why I worked in Hollywood observing these people, but how these people really were getting what they wanted. And that is because they can allow, receive, and accept massive amounts of love, right? Adoration, money, cars, horses, business opportunities, everything I'd been observing for 15 plus years of my adult life is that they just have an ease about them and that they can lean in to all this love. And so my second book, Being Your Own Superstar, How to Expand Your Love Capacity, which, by the way, I put myself on the cover. 3 years ago, you couldn't have paid me money to do this, okay? I would rather crawl underneath a rock somewhere, right? And this took courage, you all. It did. It took a lot of courage. However, because I was also downloaded a daily habit system called the Love Capacity Daily Habit System. And I told the higher divine that I understood, because I did understand in that moment. However, I would beta test it on myself first. And because I had been working the system for 3 years, that is how I had the courage to put myself on the cover. I believe that it is truly your birthright to stand in your spotlight and shine bright. And that when we do that, when we allow, receive, and accept massive amounts of love, and we have to move the junk out, right? And accept that love, that you will aspire and step into scenarios that will blow your mind, because you are able to allow yourself to be at ease as you are moving through your journey and down the path. And it's so much more fun, y'all. I'm having so much more fun. Life is so much more beautiful. I'm in complete awe and I'm in gratitude that download came to me. And I was surrounded by Corys of the world who really encouraged me to put this out there. And it's been a blessing. I didn't know how much time I have left.
I think 0.
Okay.
I can always tell when time's up because I've known Marion so long, I can tell when time's up.
Oh. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
We've got this thank you so much. I could listen to you for hours more. And I'm on my second time around reading your book, and I'm going to be on doing an interview with you. So I'm just so stoked about it. Thank you, Joey. Okay, we are going to move on to Kenneth. And Kenneth Dunn is the Director of Executive Communication Enablement. After working in communication for more decades than she cares to admit, Kenneth decided to go and do something with the love of her words. To that end, she's written 2 books that have absolutely nothing to do with the number of decades she'd rather not mention. Kenneth has a zest for life and wit that shows up in her writing. Her book title is The Good, the Bad, and the Mother-in-Law.
Okay, thank you. So I have written 2 books that I so appreciated Corey's information, so I can actually put in context the books I've written. One I did hybrid publishing, that's The Good, Bad, Mother-in-Law book, and that's actually what I'll refer to. And then earlier this year, and I'm getting such a kick out of looking at my fellow curly-haired girls on the call, I wrote a children's book called Mariel Broomstick, Curly-Haired Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And that was just a book I self-published using Amazon KPR, whatever it's called. So anyway, I wanted to try to give a little advice, and it's quite similar to what Corey talked about, but first let me just talk about the book. So it's the subtitle for the mother-in-law book is Stories of Good and Alarmingly Bad Relationships. And the book was inspired by my own mother-in-law, who, when I was dating her son, she'd never had married children yet, and then became a wife. Therefore, now I have a mother-in-law. She was pretty hard on me. She would say things like, you're just not quite what I expected. And so I struggled. I was young and you want to do the best you can. But over the years, she became a trusted advisor. She was, kind of an amazing woman. In fact, we just last weekend celebrated her life because she passed away at 103. So I had a mother-in-law for a lot of years, and I learned a lot from her. And I wanted to sort of take that and put it into a book form. And so that's how, I started this whole process of writing a book, which, by the way, took me a long time. So my 4-minute version of the lessons I learned was that I think, like most authors, just listening to all of you so far, the book was my baby. I had, nurtured this baby and started thinking about it as a young wife. And then as I moved into nearing being a mother-in-law myself in particular, it was me. I've carried it with me. I did my interviews with daughters-in-laws and with mothers-in-law, and I had my title and I had my cartoon on my computer that as I worked through what I thought this should look like. And I did end up choosing, or being chosen, however you look at it, with a publishing house. And I think it's, as Corey described, it's a hybrid situation, certainly not traditional publishing. But so then I had her, I'm here, I've arrived, I got a publisher. And it was very exciting, it was. But then we go into the process of making my draft into a publishable book. And, I'd never written a book, so I didn't really know what to expect. So first thing happened is they wanted me to change the voice of the commentary in it. They felt I was being kind of too conservative and wasn't going to let my quirkiness show through. That's that first. And then another round, I came back and it's a pretty short book, you guys. It's not because it's a massive book, but it's little vignette stories based on these interviews I did. And they felt like they were interesting, funny stories, whatever, but that they needed a moral or, lesson to the story, or a lesson learned. So I had to go back and pull in more content from the interviews and the manuscripts, the interview notes I had. And then the third thing was, and this was like the road too far for me, they wanted me to change the book title. And I had lived with this book title for a long time. All my book folders on my desktops were all the book title. And, it's kind of like having someone coming to you and saying, your toddler, don't like the name, you got to change that name. And I just really didn't want to do it. But another advisor to me said, if you hire an expert, you really need to listen to the expert. You would, if you were yourself an expert, you wouldn't have hired them. So, really take into consideration that you've got these advisor, they know better, and defer to them, or at least give it a shot. So I did. So I took all their advice. I changed the book title. They had me find the new title. And it was great advice, and it made the book 100% better. So I guess the lesson here, and it sounds like these advisors are on this very call, would be to choose your support system in the book process wisely when you can. Sometimes you're not in the position to choose, like a publisher maybe, but, and that's how, meaning, like, the biggest part for me of the book was not writing it, it was dealing with how to market it and market myself, and, kind of get out of my comfort zone. I'm actually a very reserved person, and I don't normally like to be out there being interviewed live on a radio station in Florida, all these things that I end up doing. So hire wisely the people that are going to help market you. And for me, that was getting a good web designer to build out my author site, my book site, finding a good publicist, a PR firm, a small PR firm to help me. And probably the most important thing is to find a good advisor for your social media strategy for helping you promote your book. So those are my lessons learned and shared.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kenneth.
Welcome.
Let's move on to Dr. Maluna. Dr. Maluna Fausch is an executive communication and presence coach. She is a speaker, businesswoman, an actor, and opera singer. Dr. Maluna holds a degree in music business. She's a certified holistic health counselor and has a PhD in holistic psychology. She trains conscious leaders in confident and compelling communication, voice, and presence. Dr. Maluna experienced her own traumatic journey around a personal medical issue, which she has overcome and conquered, thus blossoming into the phenomenal woman she is today. Welcome, Dr. Maluna.
Thank you. Thank you. It was 2002. And imagine with me, I was sitting in Beverly Hills in an acting class, and my face became paralyzed. Now, that's a bit of a problem for an actor and a singer and a very animated person. Off I go to Dr. Karen, I cannot tell you her last name, in Burbank. And I literally said to her, I don't know if this is physical. I've been doing so much healing work, holistic work, training, spiritual work. She said, oh, it's physical and you need an MRI. By the next morning, I was at St. Joe's, Burbank, California, having an MRI. What we discovered was a tumor this big right here in my head. Holy crap, that explains a lot. And so I picked myself up and I called everyone I know because I take care of business. And I said, I need your prayers. Even if you don't believe in anything, I want you to pray anyway, because I'm in trouble and I need your help. So my gorgeous book, Up-Level Your Communication, chapter 1 begins with that story, communicating with compassion. Because I literally believe that being clear and being strong and being an advocate for my own life and health potentially saved my life with the help of Source and 3 fantastic neurosurgeons who were in my head taking that tumor out. I wrote this book for the heart-centered, conscientious CEO, founder, professional, or business owner. And I chose to publish with Forbes Books. I wanted a hardcover. I wanted a substantial book. I wanted the credibility. And I wanted to be proud of that book on a shelf 10 years from now. It took me 2 years. It was during COVID. And folks, there was not just a shortage in toilet paper, okay? There was a shortage in publishing paper. So in a way, it was a gift because I could take my time. Everything was shifting. And what you find when you write a book is that you know more than you think, because when you're called to write this down, you realize, oh, I do know something. And I realized just how different my perspective is from most people. The book is designed as a primer, so I don't want you to just buy it. I want you to read it. It will provoke you. It will nudge you into seeing the responsibility and the joy of your communication. What you say, how you say it, that your words are literally magic, how you show up with stage presence, turn up that charisma. How do you show up on camera virtually? How do you show up in person at events? And what will happen is the book will recalibrate and raise your energy. Because my purpose and my movement on the planet is to align your voice with what I call the convergence of intention, purpose, and spirituality. And when you align earth and heaven, heaven and earth, your spirit and earth, that's when your message is heard. And that's when you become the leader that you aspire to be, standing in your own deliciousness, your own voice. I've been in love with the voice since I was a little girl, and it still fascinates me to this day. What else did I learn? It's very healing to write your own book. It will kick you in the butt. It will make you proud. You will laugh. You will cry. You will stay up all night like Linda did, writing, because you can't stop. Once that upload starts, you've got to keep going with it. So I encourage each of you, if you have that story and you know that it can't live inside, then don't say, I'm going to write a book, because you'll just continue to write a book. Say that you're going to write a book, finish the book, publish the book, and get it out there to the world so that it makes the difference that only you can make.
Thank you, Dr. Maluna. And again, I neglected to mention her book name. It's Uplevel Your Communication, Evolve Your Presence and Speech to Change Everything. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Let's move on to Jody Royer. Jody is the president of Monterey Marketing 360. Her company ends your technology and digital marketing overwhelm. Jody provides everything you need to manage and grow your business. Jody is also a digital artist, certified hypnotherapist, and best-selling author. Jody helps her clients actualize their hidden dreams and abandoned desires. Now, that's a claim. I like that. Her book title is 20 Lives Ignited, How 20 Women Over 60 Are Creating Success on Their Own Terms.
Thank you, Teresa. And it's so good to see everybody here, see our shining faces. I had to decide, am I going to sell you on the book? Am I going to sell you on me, or am I going to sell you on yourself? Because I only have a short period of time. So I decided I'm going to sell you on yourself, because that's really the most important thing here. And reading the book, I'm chapter 5, even though there's no numbers. And we talked about math, but that's okay. It's by author, which is kind of a nice thing. So you look for Jody Royer, you'll find my chapter. And the thing is, how do you turn a fantasy into a fact? What's the process? So I want to give you the secret that I know about turning fantasies into facts. And you must not do what you think you know how to do. Don't do what you know how to do. Because what you know how to do and what you think you know how to do has nothing to do with fantasy. That's already in the known world. You've already been there, done that. There's no inspiration in that. There's something we've been talking, everybody's been mentioning it, that realm of the invisible that's yet to be put into physical form. And so my secret, and it's not really a secret because any of you who are in this manifestation metaphysical world know about thinking from the end in mind. And that's how I wrote this book, this chapter. I was handed just a small little section. And so what I did was I had to decide what wanted to come through. Not what I wanted, what wanted to come through me. And that's the way I've always done my artwork. Any kind of artwork is like, it's coming through me from a higher realm, not from the known realm of picking colors or picking materials and just pushing it all together. I learned how to create from reading about Nikola Tesla, and he would sit in meditation and he would wait upon the Lord, right? Wait upon the inspiration, wait upon the idea inside that wanted to give birth. And that quietness allows your mind to calm down and you can see your vision. And Tesla would see his machines built to perfection, and then he would build them. And they would work perfectly the first time. So I took that idea and I said, I've written poetry, but I've never actually published. And so I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to think from the end in mind. So I literally lived for 2 weeks in my imagination with the chapter. And it wrote itself in my mind. I saw the whole thing from beginning to end unfolding, and I just let it go and go and go. Then I sat down and I hand wrote the whole thing out in one fell swoop. It just wrote through me because it was ready to come out. The baby was ready to give birth. So it wasn't a long labor. And I had to do that work before, and then it popped out. And then I left it alone. I walked away for like about 2 weeks. And then I came back and I reread it and I rewrote it. And then I handed it off to Linda and Corey and trusted the process. They said I had a certain amount of words. They gave me the parameters for how many words. They didn't give me anything else to do. It was like there was no other parameters. So I just let this thing happen. And I just want to say you all have that superpower. And you don't know how to do a fantasy. The fun is finding out how it's going to happen and the story you get to tell afterwards. And so trust that thing it's going to make you feel afraid and it's going to make you feel excited. How do you know it's your guidance? The ego is going to be afraid because the ego is all about the known, wants to keep you safe, keep you locked in your little hamster wheel of known quotients. And so it's going to feel afraid. So don't think that that's your intuition, because your intuition isn't about fear. Your intuition is about dreams and becoming greater and expanding. So I'm leaving you with that connecting to that inner voice, that inner vision is your superpower. And that spotlight's on you to bring it forth.
Thank you, Jody.
Let those babies come out.
Yes, and Jody is one to bring out people's superpowers. And that's one thing I admire about her. So yes, thank you so much. I love your chapter. We're going to move on to Elizabeth Stitt. And she is just a beacon to parents. She even shines as a beacon here on our screen because she's front and center. And you can just see the enthusiasm coming out of her in that front and center. Elizabeth is an author, parent educator, coach, and retired school teacher. But first and foremost, she is a mother and stepmother. She supports parents through her own extensive experience because she has been there and knows how to navigate the difficult world of parenting. She provides the strategies and skills needed to bring harmony and calm to her clients' homes. Elizabeth's mission is to help her clients rely on their core values while at the same time learning effective methods of parenting so they can learn to love and experience the joy of parenting and become the architect of their families. Her book title is Parenting as a Second Language, a guidebook for joyfully navigating the trials, triumphs, and tribulations of parenthood.
I'm muted. I'm not muted. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. What a stunning day. What a pleasure to be here with all you ladies. My book came about because somebody asked me to write it. My editor, Valerie Alexander, started a series, the As a Second Language series. Her premise being that if you haven't been taught how to do something, I don't think she has entrepreneurship as a second language, but if she doesn't, she should, because it's definitely along that line. The idea that most things in life are fundamentally a skill, and that if we break it down into pieces, we can learn how to do the skill. So her first book was Happiness as a Second Language, and she reached out to me. She was a connection of my husband's, and she heard I was a parenting coach. And I read her book and I thought, oh, okay. The writing level in this book is good, but not great. It's a quick little book that you can get through. I like the exercises. I can do this. That was really how I decided to do it. And as other people have mentioned, she gave me the word count. You know, she said 45,000 words, and she said how many chapters she wanted, and she had established an outline essentially, or at least a model, and that was using the as a second language idea like a foreign language book. You know how when you go into a foreign language book, one chapter is about the verbs and one chapter is about the adjectives and one chapter is about the nouns. So that's how she did her book. So that was what it was. So I'm now doing the verbs, the nouns, the adjectives of parenting. And really, all I did was repurpose the pillars of parenting that I'd been teaching and just been saying like, okay, which noun goes with this, which noun goes with that, which verb goes with that. So it was really super easy to read because write because there wasn't anything in this book that I hadn't already taught over and over and over again. And, but I do want to say, so it was easy to write. It was fun to write because it was easy to write. And I did sit down every Tuesday morning and say that I couldn't get up until I'd written 1,000 words. And usually by the time I had written 1,000 words, it was easy to write 4,000 or 5,000 words. And then that way I started writing in September and I finished mid-December because I just sat down every Tuesday and in the process of writing or rewriting. And there really wasn't a single Tuesday where I wasn't able to write 1,000 words. Sometimes I wrote 1,000 words that got thrown out, but most of it I was able to keep and I was able to use. So this is kind of a how-to book. And Katarina's here, so I want to quote Katarina and remind people that perfection is not required, even for a book. And a lot of you are writing these beautiful, inspiring books where the level probably has to be a little bit higher to be totally inspiring. But this is a how-to book. This is a very nuts and bolt, practical, what is one strategy, tip, approach you can take for one aspect of your family. And the people who are reading it are not reading it for perfection, right? They're not reading it for the absolute beautiful expression of my words. They just want to figure out how to do something. So that is one kind of book to be able to write. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Let's move to Victoria. Victoria Romano Sexton is a Pepperdine University educated best-selling author, consultant, strategist, and financial coach. Victoria is also a creator and the host of the Don't Play with Trash podcast, which is both witty and educational. After spending years of working in finance and still not feeling confident about her money, she discovered her own secret sauce, combining a money mindset with straightforward personal finance system. Now she teaches the same system to her clients and helps successful women create wealth and attain financial freedom while giving them the confidence to embrace their abundance and take control of their financial future. Her book title is best-selling author of Effortless Money, How to Align Your Wealth and Your Woo.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Hey, everybody. So I ended up writing a book, and I'll just start by saying, like, I love words, and I've always loved words, and I've always been that nerdy kid who's like underneath the sheet with the flashlight. And, you know, when we were growing up and like 3 a.m., like my mother getting mad because I'm reading all night. That was always me. And so I've always like loved books, and I had this sort of dream in the back of my head that I would write a book one day, but I never knew what I would write about. And here's what happened. So I quit my job as a financial advisor, and I just had so much coming at like it. I had something to say. And I feel like a lot of women right now, like the world is in an interesting space. And I feel like every day is changing so much. We have a lot going on in this world. And especially women over 40, like we got something to say. And so I would encourage you that if you have something to say, that it's time that you find your medium of communication. Because we have, like, I have mouth for a reason, and I'm using it every day. And I feel like, especially women more our age range, like we need to say what is on our heart, what is on our mind. And there have been so many years where, and I know probably some of you feel this way too. Like, you know, when I worked in the corporate world, oh, I won't, you know, make waves. The person who's exceeding expectations or whatever, I'll just keep that status, whatever. To hell with that. I'm really done with that. So for those of you who are in the same space where it's like you have something on your heart that you want to say, I would encourage you to find your medium, like whatever that is. And for me, as you can tell, I've never had a shortage of words to say. So one thing I did when I decided to write my book, I take my phone, I go out to my porch, and I would do voice to text in Notepad on my phone. And I would have a topic, and I would be like, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say all the words that I could come up with on that topic. And then I'd go inside my house and make sure it all made sense. And I'd be like, boom, next section. And so I felt like I really got it out of my mouth very quickly because of the fact that I thought I'm just going to let it come to me. And I think that a lot of people are sort of saying the same thing, that if you have something to say, find the medium to let it get out into the world. Some people, you're going to have a podcast, you're going to have a YouTube channel, you're going to do whatever. And I think that for other people, like they love writing on the keyboard. I sit down to write on the keyboard and I have no idea what I'm going to say. So just find that thing that is that medium that is going to help you express what you want to say. Because again, right now, I feel like we really need to speak our truth, that whatever is on our heart, we need to get out into the world. And so I just want to encourage you guys to, if you're in that same space, to figure out what it is and just to say the dang thing, because it's on your heart for a reason. So, and I think, do I have any time left? I feel like I talked a lot.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. Just say the dang thing. Just say it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Let's move to Caterina Rando. Oh, I just love her. She is an Italian-American granddaughter of Ellis Island immigrants. I like what she has to say about her mother, Maria, and her dad, Anthony. They have modeled generosity and given my whole life. They showed me that being of service feels, and there is plenty to go around. You know, that feeling of service feels great, and there's plenty to go around. Caterina has been serving women entrepreneurs on a mission for nearly 30 years as a master coach. She is a sought-after speaker and business strategist. Her life work is showing women entrepreneurs how to succeed by being loud and proud about the value they bring. She has written several books, and today she is going to share ABCs of speaking, your building blocks to speaking success. Caterina?
The author journey. Here's the one thing I want to share. Actually, I got about 50 things to share, but in my 4 minutes, a book is not a business. And what a book can't do is a book can't have you as the author interact with the person who's reading your book. They can have an experience of you, but what I want you to know is that I want you to take your book and proliferate it all over by building relationships through public speaking. Now, some of you say, Caterina, I'm not in love with public speaking, but here's what I want you to know. When people come to be with you live and in person, or they come to a Zoom room like we're in right now, you know what they want? What's in it for them? And when people show up to be with you in a Zoom room, it's an opportunity for you to start to build a relationship with them. And if they've read your book, all the better. The first book I was ever in was called Give Stress a Rest. It was a multi-author book. I wrote one chapter. And you know what happened? That one chapter in that one book got me so many training days on Give Stress a Rest. Apparently, I was a stress expert because I had written this chapter in this book. It gives you credibility. It gives you confidence. And you know what else happens when you write a book? You're now in this new club. You're in the author club. Bing, bing, bing. It's like being a high school graduate and a college graduate, hopefully even better, forever. You're in this club. That's exciting. What I want you to also be in is the speaker club. Here is my one-ish super tip for you to make you an awesome speaker every time. You ready for it? I want you to wear your cape. Your cape, your invisible cape. And it stands for this: certainty, authenticity, positivity, and enthusiasm. Certainty, my friends, that you have massive value to bring. Authenticity, be yourself. That's all that matters, because your people will resonate with you. Don't try to be like you're supposed to be if you're speaking. Don't try to be how you think you might supposed to have to be if you're a financial planner or a mortgage broker or whatever the industry standard is. You do you, because your people will be attracted to you. The P for positivity. Nobody wants to listen to any depresso speakers. Nobody wants to be depresso. In fact, every time somebody's with you in a Zoom room, we want them to leave more uplifted than when they showed up. And the E is for enthusiasm, or you could even say energy. Hey, you got to fill the whole room with your massive value. Make sure you bring your energy full throttle. My friends, wear your cape, take your book and speak with it all over. And I would love to support you in your journey. I'm going to put my free resources in the chat. And remember, you've got massive value to bring. Be loud and proud about your massive value. Thank you, my friends. Bing, bing, bing.
Okay, why do I have goosebumps? Why do I have goosebumps when Katerina speaks? I'm not sure, but I'm all tingly. It was great. Thank you, Katerina. Get to know her, hire her. I mean, she's going to take you further. It's crazy. So get to know Katerina. New member, awesome. Just glad to have her aboard. I'm just going to, the reason why I wrote my chapter is written in the first couple paragraphs of my chapter. So I'm just going to read it to you quickly, and then we can get out of here and go on with our lives. Dear seeker, there is a great power that lies within our stories. Some of our stories will be deeply influenced by our mothers, grandmothers, and people who either enriched our lives or were destructive influences. When we neglect to get in touch with our stories, we go through our lives not totally understanding the place called our soul home. Some stories go untold, and some are never made known to even to us. When we don't know our story, we are not rooted and can easily be blown here and there by the opinions of others. I believe this is mostly true for us women. Our instincts are cut away. We are taught to behave and not be ourselves. We are rendered deluded somehow through the stifling domestication that causes us to lose our self-protection against. I just wanted to say that a lot of my chapter was about saying yes. And if we don't say yes to things, even when they don't seem the funnest thing to do, we miss out on a lot. So I don't know how when I broke out, but I hope that what I said helped you in some way. And you have a wonderful week, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thanks to the authors.